So something else is, well, there's a mantra that's repeated very often by nominal Seventh-day Adventists, and the mantra is, "The ship is going through." You know, the ship is going through. You need to stay on the ship. If you leave the ship, you're going to be lost. Uh, as if there's anyone who's going to be saved by being in a denomination. You can't be in rebellion, in apostasy. You stay in the denomination and you get saved. But if you leave the denomination and you are obedient to God, somehow you get lost. That's not what actually happened with when Christ warned that Jerusalem was going to be destroyed. Those who left Jerusalem, and Jerusalem is a type of the church. Those who left the church because it was in apostasy were saved. And those who stayed in Jerusalem because they thought that if they stay in Jerusalem they're going to be saved, they were all slaughtered. Okay, so yeah, there's a belief that the denomination or the organization is God's church. That's a misunderstanding. A church is made up of individuals who are faithful to God's commandments and have the testimony of Jesus. Um, and also, that's why I said earlier at the very beginning of this video, I explained that just me making this video and criticizing the SDA leaders and also exposing the corruptions that are happening in the SDA church. Some will get angry with me. It's like you're not allowed to criticize the organization or leaders. I've got many relatives who are in the nominal SDA church, and they some of whom I don't speak to, but they got angry with me when I started speaking facts, and some of it was based on my personal experience. It's like you're not allowed to have an experience, and you're not allowed to talk about your personal experience and criticize, talk about the corruptions that are happening in the SDA church, or even criticize the leaders. So something else as well. This happened when I'd long left the nominal SDA church. I left in 2011 to join the free SDAs. But something else that happened recently is that the denomination took part in the scamdemic. That's what I'd like to call it. It was a scamdemic because personally, based on the word scamdemic, I think you know what I mean. The denomination took part in the scamdemic and refused to give members exemption letters. And also, when I was attending Newbold Church, they had a shop inside the church itself. There was to the side there was a shop, and they used to sell on Sabbath until I think the members started protesting. That's when they closed the shop down, and they also celebrating Lent as well. Whilst I was at Newbold Church, and that then stopped as well. And I think there was there was some opposition to that. And for those who don't know, Lent is actually Roman Catholic. So I've already spoken about how an apostate church can be likened to Jerusalem, which was destroyed in AD 70. And all the Christians who obeyed Jesus left Jerusalem and were saved. Those who hung on to corrupt institutions were destroyed. And it will happen the same way to those who are disobedient to God's command, who think that being in an organization or a denomination will save them whilst they are being in disobedience. Something else as well that I want to share based on my personal experiences as well is that I've noticed that I would say the majority of SDAs are not Christ-like, because basically something that I experienced along with my wife is that my wife and I were abused by my dad and my mom as well. My mom was kind of enabling my dad, and eventually he swore at me, and he'd been abusing me and my wife for quite a while, making demands, phoning me, harassing me and my wife, really upsetting my wife to the point that she was crying and stuff like that. This was mostly done on through phone calls and stuff. But eventually when I went to visit him in Zambia, he started abusing me in front of one of my uncles, saying things like I can be controlled, that I personally can be controlled in my house by my mom. And then when I said there's nothing like that, that parents can only give advice to their children who are adults and have moved out from home, and then I started talking about how he'd been abusing me and my wife, and he got upset and angry, because one of the things that my dad doesn't like anyone who basically exposes how he's abusive physically and also verbally as well, and mentally, because we used to, when I was growing up, I witnessed my mom being abused by my dad several times, and most of it was because of the fact that he was having extramarital affairs. So when I started talking, I wasn't even talking about that actually when this happened, but I was talking about how he was abusing me. He had abused me and my wife. And then basically he got so angry that he started like swearing at me, and he said, you should have just taken your effing wife to Harare. Remember, I'd passed through Zambia to see him, and I was coming to Zimbabwe after that. And he said, you should have taken your effing wife to Harare. And that's not even how he said it. He actually said the word, which I'd not wish to repeat. And then about 2 weeks later, when I came to Zimbabwe after that incident, I told my mum what had happened. And my mum then went and told my dad what I'd said, that I'd given basically a different version of what had happened. And then my dad sent me a text message basically demanding respect, saying that I shouldn't visit Zambia again until I learned to respect him, even though he had been abusive to me and my wife. No apology or anything. And then when I said that respect goes both ways, and that, he should apologize to me and my wife, he told me in the text message that he said, you and your wife can go to hell, which really hurt me, because I used to help my parents quite a lot. I used to send them money every month, and even when my dad needed an operation in Zambia, I contributed to his operation. But he didn't seem to appreciate all that, and was intentionally went out to hurt me and my wife. So when all this came out, most of my relatives were actually SDAs, supported my dad and my mom, and once again, yeah, like I said already, my mom is an enabler, so she was there supporting my dad, even though she's been abused by him, both physically and verbally many times. Yeah, most of my relatives who are SDAs supported my dad and my mom. Saying things like, oh yeah, your wife is supposed to do things for your parents, and even if your mom dies, your wife is supposed to leave Zimbabwe and go to Zambia to help your dad. And I was like, these are Seventh-day Adventists, so-called people of the book, who when Christ was tempted in the desert, he never at one point referred to culture, because this is what something I've noticed about especially African Seventh-day Adventists, but also even European Adventists. There seems to be a lot of reference to culture. But when Jesus was tempted by the devil, he never referred to culture. He always said it is written. So what I've noticed about Adventists is that during the week they are not Christians during the week. They are Christians on Sabbath, which is not how it's supposed to be. If you're a Christian, you're a Christian full time. There's no part-time Christian. There's no part-time Christianity. It's a full-time role, and every opportunity that you get, you're supposed to be witnessing to those that you rub shoulders with during the week. So if you are someone who is employed, when you get the opportunity, you should be witnessing, praying for God to give you opportunities to be a witness to others. Yeah, and even racism as well. The racism in the Nominal SDA church, which I've personally experienced as well, when I fell out with a white brother in the SDA church. Although this was in the free SDA church, but some of those who are attending were from the Nominal SDA church, and all the white folks sided with the white brother, without even coming to talk to me about what had happened, even though it was none of their business, to be honest. But yeah, so I've noticed that the majority of SDAs are not Christ-like, and even those who are from the Caribbean don't like, black Afro-Caribbeans don't like African SDAs. They'll say that African SDAs sold them into slavery, which is nonsense. I wasn't there when slavery was going on, so I'm not sure how that's my fault. So, and obviously, even that is based on a distortion of history, because it's been mentioned, especially recently, it's been mentioned quite a lot that Africans sold each other into slavery. That's a skewing of history. It's because the Europeans, and I'm not applying this to all Europeans, but some Europeans don't want to take responsibility for what happened during the slave trade, and they're also organizations such as even the Barclays Bank, and I hear that even David Cameron's family were somehow involved in slavery. His ancestors were involved in slavery, and also what's her name? Ursula, is it Ursula? No, not Ursula. Von der Leyen, she's the president of the European Commission. Her ancestors were involved in slavery as well. So yeah, it's because they're basically trying to cover themselves. They start saying that blacks sold each other into slavery, but it's because they don't want to take responsibility and pay out for all the hurt that they caused in the past. But yeah, there's racism in the SDA church, including especially in the United States, where you have black churches and white churches. There's no, I mean, there's only one heaven. There's only one heaven that we're going to. So I don't see why we should worship in separate churches. They even have Filipino churches and stuff like that. That's not Christ-like. So yeah, so that's what I wanted to share about what I've personally experienced, and also what I've learned through reading and research, that the SDA church that's there nowadays is just a nominal SDA church. It's not the same church that was established by the pioneers. So yeah, for those who joined the church when some of these things had already happened, like the voting in of the Trinity doctrine in 1980. Those who joined the church after that don't have a clue that this is actually what happened. And also there's those basically who were born, if I can use that expression, who were born into the church. Those who were parents who were already attending the SDA church and were being taken to church by their parents. Some of them don't know what happened. Those who actually know some of these things are those who are researching and are basically receptive to the truth, who are doing research and asking for God's leading. They're the ones who know. And also those who were there before some of these things took place, when they saw some of these changes taking place, like the voting in of the Trinity doctrine and the changing of the logo, the BEM agreement and stuff like that, and the trademarking of the name, and these so-called fundamental beliefs, which are not really SDA, like the Trinity, which is in there, and also something else I forgot to mention was the yeah. So it's a bit. It's my this place where I live, where my house is. It's not flat, so it's kind of like up and down, and kind of was losing my breath a bit, and I couldn't actually remember what I wanted to say. It's I wanted to refer to the church manual, which I almost forgot to mention, which is quite a big thing. That the nominal SDA church has a church manual, which they refer to, which basically is to do with church policy. Why do Christians need a church manual? You've got the Holy Scriptures there. That's your church manual. So I don't believe in the church manual. And anyway, I left the nominal SDA church. I don't believe in stuff like that. I only believe in God's word. And also, I'm a Christian who only believe in the Holy Scriptures as my creed. I don't believe in all this, 28 fundamentals and the church manual. I don't believe in all that because I'm a Bible believing Protestant Christian. I don't believe in man's opinions, because that's not based on inspiration from God. That's just man's opinions, and if we follow man's opinions, we're going to be lost. And yeah, a bit of probably this is probably the longest video I've made, but I'm going to chop it up into into pieces, so it's more easy to digest. But yeah, I had a lot to say because a lot of this is based on things that I've personally experienced and things that I've found out through reading and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm hoping that this will help someone, to understand what's actually happening. Why is the church, there's their church, which also, something else I forgot to mention was that they claim to be only observers at the World Council of Churches. They're saying that because they know that Adventists wouldn't be happy with that. But yeah, just to get everyone to understand why the SDA church is the way it is.